In this video, we'll walk you through building a simple fire detection system using a flame sensor and Arduino. You'll learn what each pin on the flame sensor does, how to connect it to the Arduino, and how to write the code to make it all work. By the end, you'll have a working project and a good understanding of how to use a flame sensor with Arduino. So let's get right into it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start explaining what these pins right here do on the flame sensor. So this pin right here is the A0 pin, or analog out pin. This is an analog pin. Basically, when we are sensing a flame, if the flame is like far away and starts getting closer and closer and closer, the analog value or the voltage is going to slowly start dropping. Okay, so an analog is an in-between value. Okay, so it slowly starts dropping. Okay, we're not going to be using this pin in this video, but I just want to tell you what this pin does. Okay, so now the next pin is this pin right here. The G pin, which stands for ground, or G and D. This is just supposed to provide ground for the sensor. You can go ahead and connect this to one of the 3 grounds on the Arduino, and so basically that is what that pin does. And so now the next pin, this pin right here, with the plus, this pin is responsible to provide positive power to the sensor. So you can go ahead and connect this to the 5V pin on the Arduino, and it should provide positive 5 volts to the sensor. And so now here is the last pin right here. This is the DO pin. This pin is going to give us a digital signal, an on or off signal. That's all it's going to give us, not like an analog pin that gives us a gradually value depending on how close our signal is. This is going to be on or off, okay? And this is the pin we're going to be using because they're just turning on or and off LEDs. We're turning on a red LED if the flame sensor is sensing a flame, and we'll turn on the green LED if it's not sensing a flame. So that's all we need. We just need a digital signal, an on and off signal, to determine if we should turn on and off our LEDs. And so now you may see this box up here, and this is a potentiometer to adjust the sensitivity of the sensor. We'll be talking about this later on in the video, so stay tuned, but all you have to know is that this changes the sensitivity of the sensors. So you may be wondering, like, why do we need this, Because the reason why we need it is because sometimes you may want the sensor to be a little bit more sensitive to flame than other times, okay? So, like, one person may want it to, like, it may be in a dark room that's detecting a little bit of flame, then you would want to tone it up all the way to as sensitive as it can be. But sometimes you could be, like, have it into, like, a greenhouse or something like that where sunlight's coming in, and the thing is with the sensor is that it detects also sunlight. It doesn't detect LED light, but it detects sunlight because the sun's basically fire as well, so it's going to detect the sunlight. And so you may want to tone down the sensitivity to it so it doesn't detect the sunlight, but it detects any type of fire that's nearby. And so that's why you may want to adjust the sensitivity. But we'll talk about this potentiometer later on in the video. So yeah, those are all the pins on the flame sensor. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and connect up our circuit. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the flame sensor first. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the breadboard out of the way first. And so now I'm going to go ahead and connect the flame sensor up. So the first pin I am connecting is the G pin, which is going to G and D on the Arduino. And then the next pin, which is the plus pin, which is going to the 5V pin on the Arduino. And then the last pin, the DO pin, is going to pin 11 on the Arduino. So there we go, I connected up the flame sensor. And so now we'll go ahead and connect up our 2 LEDs. So this is where the breadboard comes in. And so now I'm going to go ahead and put all LEDs on the breadboard. There we go. And so the green LED is for when the flame sensor is not sensing any flame, and the red one is for when it is. So yeah. So now we'll go ahead and connect up our resistors to the anodes of the LEDs, which is the positive side of the LEDs. So I'm connecting a 330 ohm resistor to the anode to the LED. You can use any type of resistor between 220 ohms up to 470 ohms. Any resistor in between there would be good. And so I'm gonna go ahead and connect the other LED's anode to a 330 ohm resistor. And then the other side of the resistor to the red LED is going to pin 13. And then the cathode to the red LED is going to be connected to G and D. And now the other side of the resistor that is connected to the green LED is going to pin 12 on the Arduino. And then the cathode, which is the negative side of the LED, is going to ground on the Arduino. And so there we go. Now we have the circuit all connected up right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and move over to the code. Okay, so now I'm going to be showing you the code for this project. Okay, so the first thing we do is we define our variables. And so the first variable we define is the LED1. We're going to be putting the number 13 into it, representing pin 13, which is connected to the anode of the red LED. And then we have LED2, which we're going to put the value 12 in it, which is going to represent pin 12, which is connected to the anode of the green LED. Then we have the variable sensor pin, and we're putting the number 11 into it, which is representing pin 11, which is connected to the digital pin of the flame sensor. This is where we're going to be getting a high or low value depending on if the sensor is sensing the flame or it's not. And so if it's sensing the flame, this pin 11, is going to be giving us a high value. But if it isn't, then it's going to be giving us a low value. And so then we have int sensor val. This is for storing the high or low value that we are going to get from the flame sensor. So that's all that this is going to be for. So then we come into the void setup and we define all our pins, pin 1 and pin 2, they're both going to be outputs, and then sensor pin is going to be an input because we're reading information, we're reading a high or low value. Then we're going to the void loop, we're going to go ahead and read the sensor, and we're going to say digital read, which means telling the Arduino, hey, we're going to be reading a digital signal, and then it's going to ask us where we're going to be reading this digital signal from, and that's going to be sensor pin, which is pin 11, which is connected to the DO pin on the flame sensor. And it's going to put that value, whatever it is, if it's a high or low value, into the sensor val. And then we're going to say if sensor val, basically if sensor val is a 1, then come into this if statement and do this. Okay, it's because the thing is that on this statement, if we don't give it anything else, like tell it, oh, if it equals, something, if we don't give it anything else but the variable, then it's going to think, okay, we have to check if it's true or false. That's all we need. So basically, 1 represents true and 0 represents false. So if this variable is equal to 1, not equals to true, and so it's going to come into this if statement. But if it's equal to 0, then not equals false, and it's not going to come into this if statement. So if the sensor is sensing a flame, then it's going to come into this if statement because it's sending a high signal, which is a 1, and so it's going to come into this if statement. But if it's not sensing a flame, then it's going to give us a 0, which represents false, and so we're not going to come into this if statement. And so if it is a 1, if it is the high value, which is 1, then we'll come into this if statement, and we're going to do digital write, which means we're writing to a digital signal, LED1, which means we're writing to pin 13, which is connected to the anode side of the red LED. And we're going to turn that red LED high, because if we are receiving a 1 in this variable, then that means the sensor is sensing a flame, and we need to turn on the red LED. So we go ahead and turn on the red LED, and with LED2, we turn it low because we don't want the green LED on while the sensor is sensing a flame. So we make sure we turn that LED off. And then we just get out of this if statement. Now, if sensor value is equal to 0, then it's going to bypass this if statement. It's going to come into this else statement. The else statement basically means if this statement right here is not true, then come into this statement. And so if sensor value is not equal to 1, then it has to be equal to 0. And so we'll come into this else statement, and we're going to do digital write LED1 low. So now we're going to turn the red LED off, and we're going to turn the green LED on. And basically this means like if we are receiving a 0 from the sensor, that means when the sensor is not sensing a flame, and so we need to come into this else statement, and we need to turn the red LED off and turn the green LED on. And so basically that is all of the code. And so now we're going to go ahead and upload this to the Arduino and see what our project's doing. Okay, so now here's the project, and as you can see, the red LED is on and the green LED is off. Now that's not supposed to happen. The red LED is supposed to turn on when the sensor is sensing a flame, and the green LED is supposed to turn on when it's not. But the reason is it is sensing the flame. It's sensing the flame of the sun. And so we got to make sure that we adjust this potentiometer so that it doesn't sense the flame of the sun, but sensing the flame that is near it. So what we have to do is we have to adjust this potentiometer. And as you can see, there are 2 LEDs here. There's one LED that's always on whenever the sensor is connected to positive 5 volts. And there is another LED that is always on when the digital pin is high, which means when it's always sensing a flame. So it turns on when the sensor is sensing the flame, but it's turning off whenever the sensor is not sensing the flame. So what we have to do is we have to continue adjusting this sensor until this LED turns off. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And you have to turn it counterclockwise to turn down the sensitivity of the sensor. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and start doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue turning it down until this LED right here barely turns off, or this green LED barely turns on, and the red LED barely turns off. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Start turning down. And there we go. So the green LED is barely on, and this LED is barely off. And so now we can go ahead and test it and see how our project works. Okay, so now here is the project, and so as you can see, I have the flame sensor looking out towards this direction, and I have my green LED that's on, and my red LED that's off, right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and strike a match, and this red LED should turn on right here. So let's go ahead and do that. There you go, the red LED turns on. As I take it out of the way, the green LED turns on. Put it back in, the red LED turns on. Move it back away, the green LED turns on. Move it back in. Oh, my fire went out. But as you can see, the LEDs turn on. The red LED turns on when it sees the flame, and the green LED turns on when it doesn't. And so yeah, that's basically the project. Okay, so there you go. Now you know how to use the flame sensor with Arduino. If you like this video, consider giving this video a like. Also, comment down below if you have any questions, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.